Okay, let's talk about the 9th episode of Season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. This was a pretty cool episode, so let's get into it. Before I do, please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and as I'm going through it, please comment below and let me know what you think. Okay, let's get into it. This is probably going to be a short video because I don't feel like there's a whole lot to say about this episode. Some interesting things did happen in it though. First, the team has decided to build large rockets to fire over certain parts of the ranch, specifically the triangle, and later they also do so over Homestead 2. They're going to fire these big rockets filled with sensors to take readings in the atmosphere like they did last year. Last year they used smaller rockets, and one of them, I believe, was knocked out of the sky or something like that. Somehow the phenomenon interfered with the rocket. I forget the specifics. So they want to repeat that this year, and of course they're hoping to provoke the intelligence behind the phenomenon into doing something that they can record. Failing that, they're going to try to get sensor data to help them piece together what is going on from a scientific point of view. So they bring in these rocket guys. It's actually kind of funny because they're giving them the lecture. You know, something could follow you home. You could have hitchhikers. Things could happen at your home that attachments could form here that could follow you elsewhere. And I thought these rocket guys were just going to run screaming after they had been told all the spooky stuff about Skinwalker Ranch. But they held in there and they fire off these rockets, and they are impressive. They're much bigger than they were last season. Obviously, spend a little more money on it. And they have some pretty sophisticated gadgets in those rockets to take various measurements. Now, while they're doing this, the couple that lives on the ranch, the caretakers, they are interviewing or meeting with the son of a famous ufologist. Is it ufologist? For some reason I want to say UFologist, but I think it's ufologist. I guess I'm a ufologist, so I should know how to pronounce it. I'm going to stick with ufologist. I think that's right. Anyway, there's a famous ufologist, Junior Hicks, from that area, who kept a record of UFO sightings in that specific region. They talked to his son, and then he's able to bring out the files from Junior Hicks and all these cases, you know, similar to things that people are seeing now, the different shapes of the UFOs, etc. And it is very interesting to consider they're seeing certain shapes, certain kinds of UFOs again and again. Does that mean those specific shapes are connected to certain civilizations or alien cultures or classification of beings? One shape is from one dimension, one is from another. I don't know, but that's exactly the sort of thing that I'm interested in. One of the many things that are interesting about this phenomenon. If we could use what we are able to observe to try to piece together a picture of the broader cosmos, that would be very cool. So I really appreciated them bringing the son of Junior Hicks on there and going through that stuff. It didn't really advance the story any, and they did not try to put any of the pieces together. You know, that shape is from this sighting. They also saw that shape back in 1957, and so that means X. They don't go there, but at least it's a start to it, and I really appreciate that. And that's one of the things that excited me about the France dump of UFO stuff, was you are able to see these historic trends. And if the U.S. would release at least some of what they have, you know, they don't have to go to the Area 51 stuff, but at least they could give us the most credible of the UFO sightings going back into the 40s, and we could start getting a picture of how these things operate and just exactly what is operating. Are they circles? Are they discs? Are they cigar shapes? Are they triangles? And what are the various properties of each? Anyway, so it's an interesting little digression, but it doesn't really contribute to the overall plot of the episode or even the season. So back to the rockets. Of course, Caleb, the security guy, his phone goes nuts. It always goes nuts. They always want to hack his phone. Only his phone. It's interesting how different people get targeted over and over again in the same way. Thomas Winterton will have the head pain because he had the trauma to his head, apparently inflicted by the intelligence behind the phenomenon. Travis likewise gets hit repeatedly, although in fairness, he gets hit in different ways. Radiation, messing with his mind. So those are different things. But the security guy, Caleb, he gets his phone hacked repeatedly. These aliens are interested in Caleb's phone. Maybe not interested, but they are doing the same thing to his phone time after time, and they don't go after other people's phones. But they go after Caleb's phone, and they go after Thomas's head. So that is interesting, and they go after Travis in different ways. Skinwalker Ranch. One of the guys that are with the rocket team, he has a bodily reaction where all his hairs are standing on end, and he's seeming like he's feeling these electromagnetic pulses or something. So that was interesting, and they actually have to swap him out for another guy because he was up on the ridge where presumably the effects are stronger. So they swap him out, they bring him down from the ridge because he is having that powerful of a reaction, and he is clearly freaked out, and you can just see it in his eyes. I would be too. So they launched their biggest rocket, their most aggressive rocket, and the electromagnetic readings go off the charts. It's this electromagnetic thing that they keep on detecting in their various experiments. When they prod the phenomenon, this electromagnetism is increased, and there's this weird signal. Eric's spectrum analyzer dies. Often when the phenomenon is provoked by various people in various circumstances, it has an effect on their electronics. So this is hardly surprising. However, it does make you wonder if the intelligence behind the phenomenon is attacking their instruments so that they can't record the data, which would be interesting if true. However, they're able to get data readings from all these other instruments, so probably not the case. So that's about it for this episode. They fire some rockets, get some readings. At one point, they do see a UFO in the sky. The activity, the rocket activity, does provoke a UFO. That's almost exactly the same thing they saw at a previous occasion. The silvery disc that it just appears for a few seconds and then vanishes. So their rocket experiment doesn't accomplish a whole lot as far as the data that they provided us. Sure, there's some weird electromagnetic readings, and there is a UFO and some electromagnetic weirdness, and killing Eric's gadget, making hair stand up on Dave the rocket guy. So they are able to get some stuff out of this. None of it is extremely dramatic. There's no portals opening up. There's no grand revelations. There's no beings that emerge. But it is an interesting experiment that does produce some results. And maybe the ramifications of this will be further down the road. So in the end, they do a setup for the next episode. They bring Brandon Fugel, the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, in and say, hey, this is what happened. We want to investigate in the air more because we got these reproducible results. We did the rocket, the UFO showed up just like last time. We need to investigate this more in the air. So let's use the helicopter. So that's what they're going to do in the finale, which is next week. They are going to use the helicopter, and I'm sure it's going to be very dramatic and exciting, and it probably will be in the way of the show. So that's it for this episode, and we are almost done with the season. So far, I'm glad they did stretch it into 10 episodes because I want to see as much as possible from the ranch. However, I do think there has been a stretch. There have been a few filler episodes, and the whole thing does feel a little thin. So, that would be my only complaint. I think part of the problem is they're doing this in the summers when people are available. And if this was like a year-long project, they would have more to draw on to make these seasons more interesting. But as it is, they have a fairly short shooting schedule, a couple of months probably in the desert and on the ranch, and that's it. If they did have a longer shooting schedule, they could probably capture more of the phenomenon on screen and on their sensors, and they would be able to piece together a more interesting narrative for the season and maybe even have better results. You would think they would get more data, so they would have more results. So that would be my suggestion going forward. I know the summer is when people are available, but if there is any way to do it throughout the year, I think that would be even better. Anyway, I'm still looking forward to next episode. They are going into the skies in pursuit of the phenomenon. This is going to be interesting. Maybe. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Also, comment below and let me know what you think. Have you seen the episode? What did you think? And if you would, please hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it to be notified of future videos. That's it for me for today. Until next time, Cosmic Road out.